She's something of a rare breed in the nation's capital, not only because she's a moderate Republican, willing to publicly disagree with President Trump, but also because of where she's from, a state more than 3,000 miles away. Norah O'Donnell is talking with Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski.
Alaska, the last frontier. But for Senator Lisa Murkowski, it's her favorite frontier. The third-generation Alaskan is as familiar in the halls of Congress as she is on an Alaska Airlines flight, where even the flight attendants call her Lisa. She flies home nearly every weekend and invited Sunday morning.
Are you still running?
To America's northernmost state.
No, Lisa, I'm too old now.
You are not too old. You're never too old. You hang in there.
Keep working on our energy. I like it.
You got it.
Each day is packed with constituent meetings.
Well, it's good to be back home.
The state's senior senator says it's what keeps her connected to the needs of Alaskans.
You're not leaving.
No, I got to stay here.
From the high cost of living and childcare.
What's happening to your budget as you're looking to feed all these kids?
To the shortage of housing.
We were trying to find ways to reduce that energy footprint.
She writes about being a moderate in a polarized Washington in her new memoir out this week, Far From Home.
Do you want to know the story behind the picture?
Sure, yeah.
I had brought my parka back to Washington, D.C. for the inauguration because we knew it was going to be cold. We're going to take a picture in the snow. We're in the parka with the Capitol.
When you say parka, that's a different kind of parka than I have. That's like an Alaska, like it's got fur and
you know,
hide.
That's wolverine, that's beaver, that's a little bit of fox.
Lisa Murkowski came to Washington in 2002 after a career as a lawyer and state legislator. Her father appointed her to fill his seat when he became Alaska's governor.
Today, solemnly swear.
She faced charges of nepotism, which Murkowski calls accurate. She was ultimately elected to a full term, but each election has been a challenge, none as difficult as in 2010, when she was primaried by the Tea Party and lost.
And then you had to make this difficult decision. Could you do what no one else has done, essentially, and win as a write-in candidate in a state like Alaska with the last name Murkowski?
9 letters. Yeah. And Nora, it had to be spelled right because we weren't sure how the courts were going to interpret it. If it was Murkowski with a Y at the end instead of an I, was that going to be sufficient to count?
Murkowski. Murkowski.
That is correct.
It worked
You get all the easy ones.
and gave Murkowski what she calls a new freedom.
Did that enforce in you this idea that, okay, I've got the backing of my constituents to do what I think is morally right and sort of strike out in this independent way?
It absolutely reinforced that. It's a daily reminder of how I was returned to the United States Senate. It was not through the help or the assistance of the Republican Party. It was through the help and the assistance and the persistence of Alaskans all across the board.
Is that why you feel no allegiance to the Republican Party?
What I say is I still have the same Republican values that I have long held. But my allegiance is not to the Republican Party. It's not to a party. It is to the people who returned me. And those people were Republicans and Democrats and independents and nonpartisans. And so when people back here in Washington talk about, well, I need to answer to the base, my base is so beautiful and diverse and eclectic and genuine.
Senator Murkowski is proud to be a Republican in Washington who never voted for Donald Trump.
You've warned your Republican Senate colleagues not to cede ground to President Trump. How's that going?
Well, just to put it into context and to be fair, I don't think that we should cede, the congressional branch, should cede ground to anybody. not to the courts, not to the executive. I think we have a role to do. We cannot, whether it is with tariffs, whether it is with spending, whether it's the role of advice and consent, we have a role that is prescribed under Article 1 of the Constitution. We need to take that seriously. And I fear that what we're seeing more and more is a Republican conference in both the House and the Senate that may agree with the goals of President Trump. And so they're good with however we get there. But we need to ask ourselves, if this was President Biden, or if this were to be a President Booker, how would we respond? Because I don't think we would just sit back and say, it's okay that you use that.
You think there would be more oversight?
I think there would. If not oversight, at least feigned outrage. But we are basically saying, whatever way you want to get there is going to be okay, because
Is that a
we like to talk.
capitulation by the U.S. Congress?
I think it's Congress not doing their job.
That job right now, deciding whether or not to pass President Trump's so-called big, beautiful bill.
A lot of concern on the Medicaid side, the clean energy tax credits. Those are probably the biggest hot buttons.
Senator Murkowski will likely be a deciding vote.
Alaska relies more heavily on federal funding and programs than perhaps any other state in the country. Are you worried that your constituents may be punished for your independence?
I realize that my job number one is to be effective for Alaska. And so I have to be aware that my effectiveness is going to be tied to relationships, right? And so how I am able to develop relationships in an administration where it is no secret that I did not support the president, and it's also no secret that the president did not support me.
You must vote Republican and do it quickly and get Murkowski out of here because she's not a Republican.
He actively campaigned against me in the state, but at the end of the day, he won, I won.